these notes on the side here, the right side. This is specifically for finding a leg. What values represent a leg? A and B. So go ahead and start out with a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If we're solving for a leg, it doesn't matter which one we choose to solve for. I usually just pick A to solve for, so I need A alone. In order to isolate A, I need to move this value for B. Okay, the inverse operation of adding b squared would be to do what? Subtract b squared. We're doing the inverse operation of addition. Okay, so these cancel. A squared is left alone on the left side. C squared minus b squared, these are not like terms, so we just have to write them as they are. And what was our inverse operation for squaring a value? Okay, so we're going to square root, and what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. A square root is the inverse of a square. A is left alone, so this is a leg. And then the other side, we can't simplify this until we have values for C and B. So this is what we are going to be putting into the calculator. Make sure you draw yourself a diagram here that this is a leg that we're finding. Okay, so on this example below that, our right angle is here, connecting with 48. So make sure that you go ahead and put that symbol there. Which one is the hypotenuse? 73. How do we know? It's the largest number. Now, whenever you start to set this up, we're going to do c squared minus b squared underneath it. But which one has to be c? 73. It's the hypotenuse. It has to go there. So the largest number should always go first. And if you just get in the habit of doing that every time, that'll work. So 73 squared. And what was the big difference between finding a hypotenuse and finding a leg? Look at these, a subtraction. Subtraction is what we use to find the leg. So 73 squared minus, and what am I going to place in this next part? 48 squared. Okay, go ahead and calculate that. Okay, that's right, 55. So 55 is the missing leg. So if we wanted to check our work, what could we do? That's right. Take your 48 and your 55, square them, and find the sum. And then it should equal whatever 73 squared is. So it's just like what we were talking about for last week. Take 48 squared plus 55 squared. That's what the value is if we square them. And then check to see if that's the same exact thing for 73 squared. And you see that it is, so we know that we did it correctly. All right, and go ahead and try this bottom one on your own. Make sure to write your work with the square root. Okay, so showing your work on this one, you should have written the square root 13 squared minus 5 squared. if you're typing that into the calculator, make sure that you know how to do that. If you don't, ask somebody or ask me, but it's second, and then this x squared, you see the square root value above it. That's going to give you that root. And then you're going to type in your values, 13, and your squared button on its own, minus 5 squared. And if you just press enter, that's going to give you the value, 12. Raise your hand if you got 12. Good. All right, and that was our leg.